Let's make this cute, adorable quilt pattern called Mi Amor, which uses fat quarters. Now, Mi Amor is also made from curves using a template, which I will go over how to use. Now, I am using The Season of Tribute, Listen to Your Heart by Sharon Holland for Art Gallery Fabrics. Not sponsored, I just love her fabric collection. And if you would like to purchase this fabric, I will have a link down below in the description to buy from a quilt store that I trust and also personally shop at. Doing so, a small portion will help out my channel tremendously. Now, since we are making a quilt top with curves, I highly recommend starching when you iron your fat quarters. This will help you out so much when it comes time to piecing. And if you are not a fan of starch, I highly recommend the Mary Ellen's Best Press. I buy this by the gallon personally, and it helps with the stretching, but it doesn't make it too stiff like a military uniform. It's kind of like a mild starch. Now, while your fat quarters are stiffening from the starch that you just used, let's go ahead and create a template. And what you're going to do is print the template out at 100%, and please pay close attention and ensure that your printer doesn't automatically scale it down when you go to hit print. Do check your printer settings, and once printed, also check the 1-inch register mark. And if it is correct, go ahead and cut out your templates on the bold exterior line with paper scissors. Next, if you do use layer cakes, quick tip, save the cardboard backing as you can use them for templates. If not, then you will need to purchase template plastic, which I will have a link down below in the description as well. Now, whether you are using the cardboard backing from a layer cake or template plastic, the rest of the steps are the same, and that is you will trace the paper templates onto the cardboard or the plastic carefully, and then you're going to go ahead and label your templates as well, and then next you're going to cut your templates out. And since I am using the cardboard method, I can go ahead and cut these out with these paper scissors as well. Now, the reason we are retracing our templates onto either the cardboard or the template plastic is because it is thicker than a sheet of paper. Then that way, when we use our rotary cutter, it is a little bit safer to cut with than paper templates. But you will still need to be a little bit extra careful with cutting with a rotary cutter as always. With your fat quarters, start by cutting two 5.5-inch by 20-inch long rectangles, which you will subcut them into 6 5.5-inch squares, and a 6.5-inch by 20-inch long rectangles, which you will then subcut that one into two 6-inch squares. Now, of course, this will all be written down below in the pattern as well. Then next, you are going to take two 6-inch squares and you are going to cut out a template A and a template B from that 6-inch square. Then you're going to take four 5.5-inch squares and you're going to cut a template A out from the square. And here is everything that you'll be cutting from each fat quarter, which you will have all of your curves plus two 5.5-inch squares. Now, Mi Amor is available in 5 quilt sizes, which are baby, throw, twin, queen, and king. So use the chart within the pattern to tell you how many fat quarters you will need for the quilt size that you would like to make. Then next, with your backing fabric, you're going to cut 6-inch by width of fabric strips and you're going to subcut them into 6-inch squares, and also 5.5-inch by width of fabric strips subcut into 5.5-inch square, which of course the pattern will tell you how many you will need for the quilt size you're making. Then you're going to use the chart also within the pattern because you're going to take a certain amount of those 6-inch squares and you are going to cut two template B's from them like so, which in this case you will be left with this orange peel shape in the middle of the fabric. And do not throw this out because next week I will have a pattern available that uses up these orange peels, so that way they don't get wasted. Then lastly, with the remainder 6-inch squares, you are going to subcut both templates, and that is template A and B within each square. And as for your 5-inch squares, you're going to leave them as a 5-inch square. Now we can go ahead and get started on the piecing, which first you're going to take a background A and sew it together with a 1/4-inch seam allowance to a print B. Then you're going to take a print A and sew it together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance to a background B. Now do note that these pieces are a perfect fit for each other. So what you're going to do is line the edges to go ahead and start sewing around, and do your best not to stretch out your fabrics. Then at the end, it should line up flat and even with the template A. Now, if you do find that you are struggling a little bit with the stretching, you can finger press the centers of both the fabrics that are A and B, and then using a pin, line up the centers where you finger pressed and pin them right sides together. That way, when you go to your sewing machine, you can line up the edges and slowly sew around the curves, and your center will already be lined up. Then that way, that should help you out tremendously with sewing the curves together. Once all of your pieces are sewn together, it is time to create your heart-shaped blocks. Now, using the curved blocks that you just pieced together, as well as a print and background 5-inch square, place your blocks like so to create the left side. Now we will do the same thing but in reverse to create the right side of your heart. And what you're going to do is sew your blocks together to form rows, and then lastly, sew your rows together to complete your heart-shaped quilt block. Now within the pattern, you will create a certain amount of full heart-shaped blocks, as well as the separate right and left side of the heart-shaped blocks as well. Then using the diagram within the pattern, you will go ahead and lay your quilt out accordingly. Then every other row will be offset to shift things over. And then as always, you're going to sew your blocks together to form rows, and then lastly, sew the rows together to complete your quilt top. And here is what my quilt top looks like all finished. And I will be using Painted Prairie 6 yardage for the backing. And as for the thread choice, I am actually going to go with a custom quilting, which means I would like to select a thread that blends in the best with my background fabric, because I do still want the fabric print to shine through. And depending how I feel when I am quilting this, I may use that same thread color for the hearts, but we'll see how I go. And here it is, all quilted and bound. I will have a video next week of the quilting. And I do hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. The link for the pattern will be down below in the description. And if you could please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notification bell so then you can be notified for your next amazing quilt project.